Right. So hello everyone. This is SIG Autoscaling meeting, and today on the agenda we have a few items. Let's go through those first. So the first item on the agenda is the reviewing the test grid for failures, and I think we still have some cluster autoscaler failures there. Basically, there isn't that much change from the last meeting. There is still a person from Google working on it. I've actually been working with them debugging the tests earlier today, so there is some progress, but it's probably going to take a few more weeks to get to the bottom of this. By the way, if someone would volunteer to take notes, that would be super helpful. Thanks. So for the next action item, for the next item on the agenda, there is the unsafe termination of placeholders nodes. Is there anyone from the people who raised this on this call today? I don't see Krishna. Okay, so since there doesn't seem to be anyone, I think we can skip this for today. We've discussed it in the past. The next one, the VPA PRs. I believe we've also discussed this. I don't know if there is anything, any new updates on here.
Well, I think no updates from my side. I think one of the things we talked about last week is that you wanted to check internally, like what's the state with the people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am following up with some people inside Google on this, and I think Guy was also looking, but I think no updates so far. In general, from my side, very little happened last week since it was a long weekend in Poland, and so not much progress. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Should we keep this in for like next time?
I think so. I'll try to make more progress. And I don't know if Guy had any success. He couldn't make it to the meeting today.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, and the next one is the cluster autoscaler issue with node group sizes. I think I know there is a PR open which I reviewed, and I think the author of the PR is in the meeting. Is that correct? Okay, so let me just give quick summary of the situation. I think this is a known issue where essentially minimum node size enforced by ASG in AWS causes an issue where if we have nodes that failed to boot up successfully, cluster autoscaler is trying to create them, and it will keep trying to it is trying to delete them, and it will trying to delete them continuously, even if that would violate mean size constraint. And this works as long as the mean size constraint is not enforced on the provider side, but if it's enforced on the provider side, that essentially can get into a loop where autoscaler is just continuously trying to delete the nodes and getting errors. I know this issue exists on multiple providers, and there is one PR that fixes it for AWS. I also know that Azure team has some upstream fix. I believe Bryce was talking about this during KubeCon, that they were also looking to upstream. So it's basically a known issue where it's quite well understood where it's coming from, but yeah, we're working on fixes essentially. Or there are a few different groups working on fix for this issue, but we don't have it quite merged yet. So hopefully we should have this fixed by 1:31. And if we do, I assume we will be cherry picking that down to the supported releases. So that's the current status of this one. Okay, and there is nothing more on the agenda. Does anyone have any other topics they would like to discuss?
I have a
Hi,
question I'd like to bring up. I'm sorry.
go ahead, Marin.
Okay. I have a question. I work with the Carpenter team at AWS, and I'm trying to come up with a proposal for sharing our documentation site with other providers. And I was wondering, I want to do it in a way that doesn't conflict at all with, the way SIG Autoscaling does things. So is there someone that I could maybe talk to offline? I don't necessarily want to take the time of the meeting here about the best way to go about sharing carpenter.sh. We would like to keep that site because we have pretty good traffic to it, but we want to be able to share it with other providers. Is there someone who would be interested in talking with me about it? So again, I just don't want to conflict with any of the work you guys are doing.
Do you mean sharing, like having other providers add their documentation to Carpenter SH, or do you mean like
Yes.
linking Carpenter SH from Kubernetes IO or some other?
Yeah,
So
but we could certainly explore different ways saying, well, right now Azure definitely is doing a Carpenter implementation. So we wanted to be able to let them start adding documentation to the site.
So I know the latter, the kind of having a high-level documentation of Cluster Autoscale and Carpenter is there is a PR in progress, and Kuba is working on this. He's not on the call today, but he would be a good person to talk with. And I think in terms of linking Carpenter from Kubernetes docs, I guess that would be a good place. I actually think that probably there is a link to Carpenter SH there, but I don't have this PR open right now. And so this will hopefully land very soon. I know there is a lot of comments on this, but I think there is good progress in resolving those. In terms of adding other providers to Carpenter SH, I don't know if there is any specific kind of way we've been doing this. In Cluster Autoscaler, we've just been doing this to pull requests and then being approved by the owners of Cluster Autoscaler. So I think that's reasonable, but I think there is also space. So yeah, for if you want to have a policy discussion like this in a smaller group specifically, it would be probably good to have. I don't know if you're representing Carpenter in this, or do we want Jonathan or someone else? And probably
Yeah, I work directly with Jonathan, so yeah, I would definitely bring them in too as well.
So probably it would be good to also discuss it with Guy, who's the other SIG lead and couldn't join today. So maybe we can discuss it either during the SIG meeting next week, or we can have a smaller meeting if we don't want to just have anyone sit to this. But I don't think there needs to be any, at least from my side, like I don't think there needs to be any particular process. I think basically just someone has an owner of this documentation, and they would just be approving PRs. That's what we've been doing so far, and it seems quite reasonable, especially if it's Carpenter specific documentation like carpenter.sh. It makes sense for Carpenter maintainers to decide what fits there.
Okay, and it's all right for us to have a shared site that's outside of the Kubernetes properties, outside the SIG properties.
I think so, especially if it's. I mean, we have Cluster Autoscaler README, right, which is in a repo owned by SIG, but it's not really going to SIG as an entire group when we update this as Cluster Autoscaler maintainers. So I think that's reasonable as long as the scope is very clearly scoped to the particular project, and I think it makes sense for the project to own its documentation. Again, I would value Guy's opinion here. I think he is well versed in this kind of process stuff in Kubernetes.
What's his last name? Guy's last name?
Templeton. I can send you the maybe we can start discussion on Slack also.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, great.
Let's start it on SIG Autoscaling room on Slack, and then maybe everyone interested will also be able to track it.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hi. So my name is Mahesh, and I was one of the person who actually added the last bug into the agenda. So Just wanted to follow up on that bug. I see a new comments added into the bug, and there's a PR associated with it. So we were upgrading the clusters to 1.28, and we encountered this issue on quite a few clusters. So I just want to understand if there was some kind of an ETA for the fix for the fail to fix node group sizes bug.
So I think it's hard for me to give ETA since I'm not implementing this. My comments were kind of around my worries around impact for other providers. So I think we need some iteration on this PR to address this. I'm not. I know there has been some changes, and I haven't done another review since, as I mentioned, there was a long weekend. I'll get to it this week, but I'd imagine maybe there is going to be one or two more iterations, and then even if we merge it, we probably only bring it in the next set of patch releases. I'm not sure exactly when this is scheduled, but there is a schedule on the cluster autoscaler documentation. So that would be the kind of the timeline on when we do the next set of patch releases. I'm checking this now. There is actually a set of patch releases planned in roughly 2 to 3 weeks. So maybe we can make it until then, but that depends on whether we have a submitted PR.
Got it. Okay, I will closely follow up on this. Thank you very much for the information.
Okay. If you follow up, I think also offline on Slack, it would be good to tag all the relevant people. As I mentioned, I know also there is some upstream fix in Azure, and maybe we can get them to upstream it. I understand there is a lot of stuff going on, so I don't know what their timelines are, but they had some pretty good ideas that I discussed with them during KubeCon.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Maciek, it looks like Guy just showed up too, if you wanted to bring up the documentation thing again.
Yeah. That sounds like a good idea. Guy, are you here? Okay. So there was a discussion around just a few minutes before you joined around adding provider-specific documentation to Carpenter SH and whether we expect some sort of SIG input on this, or is it just up to Carpenter maintainers? My thinking was that it's the latter, but I'd be very interested to hear your opinion. Guy?
Oh, sorry. Were you asking me a question? I had some audio issues there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so we had discussion before you joined where we were thinking to maybe wait for next week for your input, but since you're here, we have a chance to ask you the question now. So the discussion was on the Carpenter SH documentation, and particularly adding documentation related to new providers there, whether this should somehow go to SIG or just be handled and owned by Carpenter maintainers. I'm kind of leaning to the latter. I don't really think that that needs to go to any broader process, but I don't know what your opinion is.
Yeah, I think that's my feeling as well. Like it's should just be delegated to the sub-project is my feeling. I guess there's maybe we're involved in what the discussions about what that website looks like once there's additional, like, to make it clear what's the core concerns, what's the provider concerns, but I think most of that can be delegated down to Carpenter sub-project owners. So I don't think that's a concern.
Yeah, my thinking since we're working on the high level documentation that covers both Cluster Autoscaling and Carpenter, probably high level information that relates to both should generally go there, and both cluster autoscaler and Carpenter project documentation would be linked, and then any project specific details, which like specific provider integration very much feels like that, would just be handled by each project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay,
Okay, so
I'm
it's-
working on a proposal. I'm working on a proposal for that. So they suggested that I just bring this up in the Slack channel as well. See if anyone else has any questions or issues with what we're proposing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so it seems like we've got this covered. Are there any other topics anyone would like to bring up? All right, in that case, I think we can just finish 10 minutes earlier. Thanks, everyone, and have a good week. Thank you.
Thanks, Maciek.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.